Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishna Kesubos, Parak Daled, Chapter 4, Mishna Daled, Mishnah 4. We started this yesterday. We will quickly read from the beginning of the Mishnah and then continue on to part 2. Ha'ab Zakai Bevitoi, a father has rights in his daughter, B'Kiddusheha, regarding her Kiddushin, regarding having her become a Kudeshes to someone, B'Kesef Ishtar B'Biyah, through money, meaning he receives the money of Kedushin. Through his receiving of the money, she becomes married to that man. Bishtar, he receives the document. If the man does the Kedushin through a document that says, Hariyat Mukadeshes Li, that he's being Mekadesh, this person's daughter, he receives that shtar, and that has her become Mukadeshes to that man. Ubabiyah. Or, if he gives her over to a man to cohabit for the purposes of creating Kedushin, that will make it that his giving it and his giving her to that man to do so would facilitate the kedushin on his daughter. Bezaka b'mitziasa, he has the rights over what she finds, b'maisi and over the work of her hands, the income that she makes, the products that she produces, b'faris doreha, and annulling her vows, u'mekabel eskita, and he receives her her bill of divorce. If the husband divorces her, the get is given to the father, and his receiving of the get now has his daughter become divorced. And he does not eat fruits during her lifetime. As we said, if she inherits a piece of land from her maternal grandfather, what that piece of land produces belongs to her and does not belong to him. This is what we did yesterday. Now the Mishnah continues. Nisas, she got married, meaning she went to the final stage of marriage. She went beyond Erisin, she went to Nisuin. She went to the chuppah. Now the marriage has been completed. At that point, we say she goes out of her father's jurisdiction. All the things that her father can do now go over to the husband rather. All the rights of the father now are taken over by the husband. Yaser olav habal. The Baal has something over him, meaning over the father. Sho'echo peres b'chayeha, that he will eat the fruits during her lifetime. Meaning, if she inherits a piece, let's say if she inherits a piece of land, if she inherited a piece of land from her maternal grandfather, now that piece of land, the actual land belongs to her. But the produce from the land, what the land produces, now belongs to him. That is what the sages instituted. They instituted that it's the husband who now gets it. This is actually in place of the fact, right? This the Chachamim gave him this right because of the fact that he has an obligation to redeem her. If she was taken capture, he has to redeem her, and now because of that, they gave him the rights to her produce from the land that she owns. So that's what it means that Yeser olav habal, the Baal has over him, meaning over the father. We mentioned before that besides the rights that the father has, the husband will eat the fruits during her lifetime. Again, when she dies, if she dies, the halacha is the husband now inherits whoever she owned. He is obligated to support her. That means he has to feed her, he has to give her food and clothing. This the Torah tells us. The Torah says that's what you have to do for a wife. So he's obligated to support her. But per kaina, he is obligated to redeem her. If she was taken captive, she was kidnapped, it is his obligation to redeem her. Again, it's an obligation. It's something he doesn't have a choice about. And that is a rabbinic obligation. Ubikvurasa. And he is obligated to bury her. And that, we say, the sages also instituted. Since you are being given the rights to inherit her, which is a rabbinic law, the rabbi said, once you're inheriting her, you have the obligation to bury her. So you have the obligation to make sure that she gets a proper burial, that she gets a burial. Now, Rabbi Yehuda says, even a poor man amongst the Jewish people, he should not do less than 2 chalilim, than 2 flutes, and one woman who leads the lamenting. This means that according to Yehuda, besides for making sure she gets buried, you also have to pay for something more than just burying her. You have to pay for what goes along with a burial, which is a flutes and a mekanenes. What are flutes and mekanenes? So they explain around the bottom, to inspire weeping at a funeral, the family would hire musicians to play flutes, again, using this mournful sound of a flute, and a woman to lead the mournful chanting. There's a certain mournful chanting that would go on, and it would be a woman who would lead it. The women, they can really they have that way of lamenting in a very strong and emotional way, and they would hire a woman who would lead that chanting, because all that was part of creating the mournful mood of the funeral. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, even a poor man must make sure that not only is she buried, but that she has these other parts. Now, the way this is explained is the following here in the notes, because it's not just as straightforward as the Mishnah makes it seem. The Tana Kama disagrees with Rabbi Yehuda. In his view, it is not necessary to hire 2 flutists and a lamenting woman, because it says Rabbi Yehuda says it. The Rabbi Yehuda says it, Tana Kama disagrees. What exactly is our disagreement here? So the Gemara explains that the dispute concerns a case where making such an elaborate funeral, having these flutes and the mekanenes and the lamenting women, that was considered an elaborate funeral. So we're talking about where making such an elaborate funeral was the custom of the husband's family. That was his family's custom when it came to doing funerals, but not the custom of the wife's family. Not her custom. It's his custom, but not her custom. The general rule is that a husband must give his wife all the advantages of his family's customs. It implies that if it would have been her custom, it also would have been something I guess comes along. Because the way they're saying it's his family's custom, but not her custom. Mm-hmm. Okay, but the point being that is that the family, it's a faceless fan now. As he said, the general rule is that a husband must give his wife all the advantages of his family's customs. Okay? So even though it wasn't her husband, he can't say, well, it's not your family custom, because he has to give her the advantages of his family's customs. Mm-hmm. The Tana Kama holds that this rule does not apply after her death. Hence, he need not provide an elaborate funeral. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda maintains that it applies even then. Meaning the question is, this idea that you have to give her all the advantages of your family, is that only during her lifetime, or even after her, even when she's dead? If it's only during her lifetime, then again, you got to bury her. That's an obligation that you have. But now the question is, do you now incorporate into the funeral your family's customs of this elaborate funeral of the flutists and the women? So the Hanakama says no, because the idea of giving her the advantages of your family customs is only when she's alive. While Yehuda says it applies even after she's dead, and therefore, beyond this, just the obligation of burying her, you have to have this elaborate funeral of the flutists and the woman who laments. And Yehuda says it even applies to a poor person, because he has to give her the advantages of his family's of his family customs. Okay. If you see a person wants to go into a partnership with someone, and he knows the situation, and he evaluates that this is not going to go good. This is not going to go good for you if you go into a partnership with him. You have to tell him in order to save him from this potential danger. Now, going in and telling someone, don't go into a partnership with him, it's not going to be good for you, that's rechilas. Because you're saying how someone else could be hurting you. Telling someone how someone else is dealing negatively with him or potentially dealing negatively with him. That essentially is rechilas. But being that you're doing it to save him, therefore it would be permitted to do, but you have to make sure that there are 5 conditions that are met, and we will begin that in Mirz Hashem tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You don't want partners.
No,